Good afternoon. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Chris Nachkate. Thank you for joining us. An Alberta man who shot and killed two Métis hunters in 2020 was denied an appeal of his conviction by the Supreme Court of Canada. Anthony Bilodeau was sentenced to life in prison in July of 2022 with no chance of parole for 13 years for shooting and killing Maurice Cardinal and Jacob Sansom. Bilodeau is serving concurrent sentences of second-degree murder for Cardinal and manslaughter for Sansom. He and his father, Roger Bilodeau, chased down Cardinal and Sansom in March of 2020 near Glendon, Alberta, 200 kilometers northeast of Edmonton. A security camera showed Anthony shooting both men. He and his father were tried together. His father was sentenced to 10 years but is already out on parole after receiving credits for 4.5 years time served. Anthony Bilodeau's appeal was denied by Alberta's Court of Appeal in March of this year. As usual in cases like this, the Supreme Court gave no reasons for its decision. Saskatchewan RCMP is asking the public's help in locating a wanted man involved in a shooting in Montreal Lake. They believe he may be in the areas of Prince Albert, Saskatoon, or La Ronge. Waskesiu Lake RCMP are looking for 36-year-old Montreal Lake man Dylan Natauhau. On Friday, November 1st at around 11:40 p.m., RCMP were called to a home after a shooting. When police arrived, they found a man with gunshot wounds. He was then taken to hospital with serious injuries. Police believe the man was targeted, and Natauhau has since been charged with aggravated assault, uttering threats, and various weapons offenses. Dylan Natauhau is 6'3". He's 229 pounds with brown eyes and black hair. Police say do not approach him if you see him and call Saskatchewan RCMP or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. The family of a well-respected elder from Lake Babine First Nation in British Columbia is speaking out after an RCMP officer arrested her and gave her a ticket for littering, an offense the 69-year-old elder says she did not commit. On November 8th, while waiting for her daughter in Burns Lake, BC, Irene Alex saw a grocery bag with someone's belongings on the ground in a parking lot. She says she picked it up to move it so it wouldn't get run over. That's when, she says, a Burns Lake RCMP officer grabbed her by the arm, handcuffed her, and wrote her a $115 ticket for littering. Her daughter, Shannon, then got her mom, Irene, to explain what happened in a TikTok video. That video has since been viewed more than 141,000 times. Adding to the stress, Shannon Alex says an RCMP vehicle sat outside her home for 30 minutes following the incident. Here is what the elder Alec had to say about the arrest and ticket with her daughter by her side.
I was really upset, really upset, and I was really...
She always picks up garbage.
I always picked up garbage and I put it on the site, and I always pick up bottles too. I pick bottles up, and right now I told the RCMP I don't even want to go out there and pick up garbage. Trying to keep Canada clean, is this what you get?
APTN News contacted BC RCMP for a statement. They said, quote, detachment leadership has been engaged and offered an apology and a full review is underway. The RCMP says they won't be discussing the incident or remedial action until the review is complete. You can read more about Irene Alex's story on aptnnews.ca. Canada Post workers hit the picket lines Friday morning after contract negotiations with their employer failed to conclude by the strike deadline. The union says among the biggest issues are wages in line with inflation and safe working conditions. This job action includes both rural and urban workers. Rural postal employees are calling for more job security, and urban employees are wanting to see Canada Post scrap the separate sort from delivery method that has some workers sort and some workers deliver. It's the same system many large e-commerce platforms like Amazon use, but the Postal Union says that puts too much strain on those delivering. Canada Post says mail and parcels will not be processed or delivered for the duration of the national strike, and some post offices will be closed. It adds service guarantees will be impacted for items already in transit, and that no new items will be accepted until the strike is over. The Calgary Chamber of Commerce says this disruption is leaving many businesses in the lurch ahead of some of the busiest times of year. A fire has closed a shelter for women and families fleeing abuse in Batchewana First Nation just outside of Sault Ste. Marie in Ontario. CTV's Corey Nordstrom has the details.
The community of Batchewana First Nation is reeling after a significant fire tore through its crisis shelter.
The shelter, Nimki Nupquagan, is a place of safety for women and children in our community. People leaving domestic situations, people that are down on their luck or displaced right now, and then this happens. It's not good. It's not good at all.
The Sault Ste. Marie Fire Department responded to the blaze around 2 p.m. yesterday to calls of heavy smoke and eventually large flames coming from the shelter.
The information that I've been given so far is that it wasn't a suspicious fire. They think it started there was a garage or a shed in the back, and it started back there, and because of the wind direction, it jumped to the crisis shelter quickly.
Chief McCoy says the First Nation will be rebuilding the shelter bigger and better than before. It's not yet known how long that could take, but the women and families are currently staying in a local hotel. The Sioux's Women in Crisis group is assisting the displaced and organizing donations for them.
We're currently looking for clothes, blankets, any household items that make people more comfortable. We have had community members reach out for donations, so the community outcry has been good.
There were no injuries as all the families inside the shelter were able to escape in time. Batchewana First Nation leaders have spoken to officials with the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the federal government, offering support wherever is needed. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Batchewana.
In Saskatchewan, it was the grand opening of the new File Hills Police Service Station in Okanese First Nation on Thursday. The opening of the new state-of-the-art facility is a major milestone to the police service as they are approaching their 25th anniversary. The service, which used to be run out of the health center, now has a much bigger square footage for the officers. And the building has cell blocks as well when people are brought in.
That created some challenges for us because we would typically use RCMP cells based out of Indian Head and Fort Capel. It created a lot of travel for us. Where here we're more localized and we won't have to travel so far out of our communities.
The File Hills Police Service works in 5 different communities in the Fort Capel and surrounding area, and this new building is another achievement for service in helping to serve and protect. Inuit artists in Montreal were recently recognized for their artistic gifts. We'll have that story after the break. Plus, here's a preview of what we're working on for the evening newscast.
I was devastated. I was heartbroken.
I'm Chris Nachkate in Winnipeg, where 48-year-old Jason Kennedy recently had his wrong leg amputated at Winnipeg's Grace Hospital. According to the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, Kennedy, who is from the Bloodvein First Nation, had to get his right leg amputated due to a bone infection on October 31st. Instead, his left leg was taken below the knee. A critical incident review is now underway to learn why a surgeon amputated the wrong limb. So far, Kennedy says he is in good spirits and forgives the surgeon and medical staff.
Our grandparents always taught us about church and prayer and, having that forgiveness within ourselves and to forgive yourself. And we can't judge and blame others, for whatever happens in our lives. We leave that up to the Creator.
We have more details of this story on our website at aptnnews.ca, and I'll have more on this story on APTN National News on Friday. Last Tuesday was a big day for Inuit artists in Montreal. Several of them made their way to the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts for the unveiling of Umakatik, Essence of Life. It's an exhibition showcasing the richness and diversity of contemporary Inuit artistic expressions. Kim Sullivan tells us more.
The Montreal Museum of Fine Arts has been a pioneer in recognizing Inuit artists since the 1950s. The museum has a large collection of Inuit art, including paintings, sculptures, prints, textiles, and installations. The museum has now begun presenting its collection in an impressive and entirely new way in a redesigned space.
And historically, these galleries were dedicated to Mediterranean cultures, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, which were thought of, rightfully so, as the basis, the fundamental basis on which the museum was built. But we've come to see our mission and our role differently. By migrating Inuit art collection to these galleries, we're saying in a very clear fashion that more so than honoring past European cultures, we are engaging with living artists of the territory that we share with them.
The museum has doubled the area previously reserved for Inuit art in bright and modernized rooms where the work of around 60 artists can be admired. Artist and guest curator Essenayak had to listen to the museum's artwork in order to imagine how to present this essence of life known as Umakitik.
I first try to listen to the artworks and discover what they are sharing, and in looking through the link that connected the artworks together, what I found was that the really base meaning and link between them all was the simple fact that life is movement and exchange, transformation and growth.
She invites the public viewing the art to reflect on the currents and rhythms of life, simple and fantastic, particular to the circumpolar territories.
I would like people to be able to have a unique moment with the artworks that are here. They all have so much feeling or knowledge or wisdom or something special to share, and I just really would love people to come and be able to spend a moment with them.
The exhibition will be in constant evolution over the next 5 years, allowing the public to experience a rotation of around 120 works by some 60 Inuit artists. This Kulik by artist Kuzan van Hervelen is the second Indigenous art commissioned by the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts this year. It's especially appropriate as a work of art, as the kulik is an essential element of any Inuit home.
It's an immense honor for us.
Accordingly, Stéphane Aquin was moved to welcome these artists into their new home.
We're very moved by this because we've been working on it for years, and to see it come to life today with all these artists who are with us, it's a great, great moment in our history.
This is also a significant moment for both the artists and the community. Kim Sullivan, APTN, Montreal.
The Prince Albert Grand Council has created a collection of books for youth with a strong focus on the identity, values, and traditions of the Woodland Cree. They just released 2 books that explore treaty rights as well as myths and legends. CTV's Jasmine Pelche met up with some of the Grand Council to talk about their journey in decolonizing education and preserving Indigenous knowledge systems.
2 new books, Myths and Legends of the Woodland Cree and Prince Albert Grand Council Fulfilling the Vision of Treaty Rights, were unveiled October 28th during the Council's annual assembly at the Prince Albert Exhibition Centre. The Prince Albert Grand Council says these resources are designed to empower educators and students with tools that reflect Indigenous histories, languages, and cultural practices.
We want to be able to, adhere to what Grand Chief and our executive have articulated very clearly, that they want to make sure that people know the histories of the residential schools. They want to preserve our culture, our legends and myths, but they also want to take a look at the resiliency in today's context.
The new publications join a group of existing resource books created by the Grand Council. The collection features content in the Cree, Dene, and Dakota languages.
When you start putting and linking all the books together, it comes down to securing and making sure that treaty inherent rights are respected in this day and age.
We focused on grade 7 to 12 students, and we created a curriculum that was part of to allow teachers to be prepared to use specific types of protocols when approaching elders, and to be mindful of the sensitivity, of course, talking about residential schools.
The Education Department has also designed resources that explain the neuroscience of intergenerational trauma.
And when you start looking at intergenerational trauma, you don't know that, okay, well, here's a person that's functioning society, but you actually don't know where they actually come from.
The books come with additional content that can be accessed through QR codes on the page.
We're also looking at virtual reality and software programs, gamification, anything that engages with students to be our next step.
The Prince Albert Grand Council's educational vision is to encourage incorporating land-based learning, bilingual education, and community involvement. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
We now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, did the results of the U.S. presidential election change your outlook on Canadian politicians? Your answers are yes, somewhat, no, or unsure. Have your say on our website at www.aptnnews.ca. This week's Truth in Politics panel is up next. We'll be back in less than 3 minutes. Stay with us. Starting on the east, Halifax 5, Charlottetown 6. Happy Valley Goose Bay -2, La Grande River 0. Saguenay 3, Quebec City 4. 3 in Ottawa and sunny, London 7. Sudbury 2, Wawa 3. Churchill -3, Puckatawagan -1. 3 in Gimli, Princess Harbour 4. 2 in Regina, -2 in Saskatoon. Buffalo Narrows -4, La Ronge -3 in Sun. -4 and partly cloudy in Fort Chippewa on Peace River 1. 5 in Lethbridge, Red Deer 2. Penticton 7, Campbell River 7 as well. Sandspit 9, Smithers 1. Beaver Creek -16, Mayo -8. -3 in Yellowknife, Wrigley -14. Inuvik -18, Colville Lake -15. Cambridge Bay -7, Baker Lake -1. And Iqaluit -7, Aglulik -13. As we reported earlier this week, one of our Truth in Politics panelists is a recipient of a Governor General's Literary Award, and that is our topic for today's panel. Jennifer Leywitz is a founder of Pasqua Harbor Strategies and spoke with us from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and Nigon Sinclair is with the Winnipeg Free Press. They both recently spoke to our Dennis Ward. Here's that interview.
Jen, Nigon, great to see you. Nigon, welcome back, and of course, condolences to you and your family on the passing of your father. I thought you did an amazing, amazing job there on Sunday, so welcome back.
Thanks so much, and a big miigwech to everybody all across the Indigenous world for all the, I have more cards and letters and emails and Instagram messages than I think I've ever know what to do with. I've tried responding to everybody, but just big thanks, much love for my family, and it was a really hard time, but my dad was surrounded by all of us at the end when he took his last breath, and so he definitely knew that how much he was loved, not just by us, but by everybody.
Well, and this week some great news for yourself as well, as the winners of the Governor General's Literary Awards were named. You're on that list. Just your reaction to that.
Well, really blown away. I actually heard about the award when I was with my dad when we were in hospital, and so I got to share that moment with him. He was very pleased, very happy, and I think it was a funny moment because he always thought I'd be a lawyer, and he always wanted me to be a lawyer, and I think that getting a bit of achievement in the literary world or being a writer maybe surprised him a little bit, but also I think he was very proud. It is a bit of a tricky balance. I mean, I'll be honest, it's very weird to receive an award that's really a colonial award. It's an award that represents the crown. And so it's kind of one of those interesting moments as an Indigenous person where you're like, I'm really pleased to be recognized, really honored. At the same time, I wish they would call it something else, or maybe I wish it would be something not so colonial.
Jennifer, your opinion on the importance of these particular awards?
Now that Nigan had called them colonial, I'm like, well, should I be saying anything positive? I think that at the end of the day, this is a really good example of how not only Canadian voices, but Indigenous voices can come in and make ripples and have their voices heard and stories heard, especially, you know, allowing Canadian writers and at the end of the day, people within their own artistic abilities to be able to be showcased on a national level like this is incredible. And I think about how many people maybe hadn't heard of some of these stories or didn't know about their impact until awards like this at such a big level were announced. And now it really just helps bring it all together and maybe promote your voice even further.
And Nigan, when you started putting Winnipeg Visions of Canada from an Indigenous Centre together, did you have a goal in mind?
No, when I started pitching it to publishers. And I was encouraged very much by someone who I was working with in Toronto at the time to sort of start to think about bringing my columns together about my life, basically experiencing activism, all the incredible organizations, all the people who are resisting sort of violence and in Indigenous communities, then also coming up with innovative solutions for it. And it was really pitched or visioned by many people in Toronto outside of Winnipeg as a regional book, right? And kind of something that would just to appeal to a few Winnipeggers. Maybe I should think about a regional publisher or a publisher in Winnipeg. And it was really the vision of those at McClellan and Stewart who then said, no, this could be a national book. This could be about a larger picture, maybe a bigger picture of what Winnipeg is showing to the country in terms of solutions. And so it was pretty exciting. And I was really, if it wasn't for my editor, Haley Cullingham, really believing in this book, I probably wouldn't have even published them altogether. I had no visions of awards, no visions of really doing anything with the book other than just having kind of a moment of my 5 and 6 years as being a columnist collected in some way in some of the pieces that I'm most proud of. And so I'm really honored for anything that's happened since.
No kidding. Well, Jennifer, Nigan, we're talking about this being a colonial award, but Indigenous writers took home 3 of the 7 awards. Jen, do you think there's some significance to that?
I think so. I think anytime Indigenous writers or authors or artists in any way are acknowledged for the work that they do, it helps at the end of the day preserve our culture and preserve identity and amplify our stories. You know, there's been a lot of really, really good books that have been honored over the years. And I think of, even Jody Wilson-Raybould's book on reconciliation. It's almost like an author putting together such meaningful words, but at the same time, it's almost like a toolkit. And I feel like these books and these pieces can also be incorporated into our education system to also encourage people to learn more about our culture, but through various ways, rather than just be the traditional like how-to that teachers try to incorporate into, classrooms. There's other ways to bring like reading at the top of the list for people to be able to engage and get to know who we are.
Absolutely. Well, Nigan, again, congrats. We'll leave it there, you two, but thanks to you both for being here.
You gotcha. Thanks.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Friday on November 15th. Dennis Ward will be back here in a few hours for your evening newscast with more brand new stories. From everyone at APTN National News, hi miigwech, masicho, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Ekse.